There is a secret science, experiments and inventions the government is working on that you know nothing about. Some are objects of legend and lore, like the experimental flights at Area 51. Some of these dark projects are the work of the military's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA for short. Scott Thuman sat down with journalist Sharyl Weinberger, whose new book pulls back the curtain on some of the most important and harebrained gadgets of all time.
Today, a new moon is in the sky, a 23-inch metal sphere placed in orbit by a Russian rocket.
DARPA was created in 1958 after the launch of Sputnik, the Soviet Union's satellite that stunned Americans and created the perception that our national security was at risk.
It sounds like this is an agency that was built essentially out of panic.
Oh, absolutely. Sputnik, to take us back in time, was sort of the 9/11 moment of the time. So if Sputnik was a technological surprise that the Soviets could launch a rocket, then DARPA was supposed to stay ahead of other sort of surprises that could come from the Soviet Union. But once the Soviet Union was gone, DARPA was sort of left to reimagine its mission.
DARPA's mission is to work on breakthrough technologies for national security. The agency only employs 240 people, but has a budget of nearly $3 billion.
You wrote that the agency has changed the nature of warfare. How would you say that?
Well, if you look at the way we fight our wars today, things like networked computers that, everything from mission planning to targeting. If you look at precision weapons, drones, stealth aircraft, if you think about the stealth helicopters that were used on the Abbottabad mission that killed Osama bin Laden, the stealth work came directly out of DARPA.
Let's talk about some of the biggest successes in your eyes. What were they?
Undoubtedly, ARPANET, which became the internet, was the biggest success. Stealth aircraft was technologically successful. The development of drones were successful. Right now, we're finally seeing autonomous cars, self-driving cars come into fruition, which came directly out of a DARPA contest starting in 2004.
Talk to me about some of the strangest things that DARPA has put out there.
There's some strange ones. So if we go back in history, one project that I'd written about in the past was about this project to develop a nuclear hand grenade called the hafnium bomb. There have been other wacky projects. One was a mechanical elephant that would sort of walk through the jungles of Vietnam. DARPA has an endless list of wacky projects.
Is DARPA saving enough lives to justify the work, to justify the funding?
That's an interesting question. Right now, DARPA is looked at as this wonderful, cool science fiction agency. On the flip side, the critique is that it's not really working on national level problems like it once did with sort of in areas like nuclear weapons, missile defense, the space race.
You wrote that the dilemma now is finding a new mission worthy of its past accomplishments.
If you look at the wars we've been fighting for the past 16 years in Iraq, Afghanistan, and elsewhere, if you look at the conflict with the Islamic State, the question I always ask is, what is DARPA doing in this area? How is it thinking about those national level problems, those strategic threats? I don't see that as much coming out of DARPA. I see them working on a lower technology level on, maybe not gadgets, but sort of weapons for weapons' sake, and not thinking about how this changes the calculus of national security.
If you want to read more about DARPA, Sharyl Weinberger's book is called The Imagineers of War, The Untold Story of DARPA, the Pentagon agency that changed the world.